Everyone, and welcome back to our channel today. With this week, as we mentioned last week, we are going to be talking about artificial sweeteners. So these are really common. You see them all the time at like restaurants on the table. You see them when you go get your coffee. And a lot of times, you hear about them being better for you because they can be 0 calories. And so one thing to remember about products that are 0 calories is that based off of the single serving size is how they determine, because it is less than 5 calories per that serving, it can be considered a 0 calorie product. So understanding that if you are taking in 25 servings of something that is under 5 calories, those calories eventually add up. Yes, they might be less than sugar, but you have to remember that it doesn't constantly say 0 calories regardless of how much you have of it. So today we're going to be talking about some truths and some myths that might fall into the realm of artificial sweeteners and what you know about them.
So one of the first things about artificial sweeteners is that it's not such a good thing about them, is that they fake your digestive system into believing that you're giving yourself calories because they're sweet and it tastes like something. However, there's really no calories in it, or less than the 5%. So your body's preparing for something when it's not even there.
And to tag along with that, the fact that it's faking your system into it, it still tells your body to release insulin. And so insulin is something that our body releases as our sugar levels increase and when we're eating food. And so insulin is actually a weight gainer. And because of that, the more, when you do these artificial sweeteners and when you do have high levels of sugar in your diet, the more insulin that your body's going to be releasing, and this is going to eventually cause weight gain. So just because you're doing this 0 calorie soda or this 0 calorie packet within your coffee in the morning doesn't mean that it's not going to make you gain weight the same way that just having regular sugar will make you gain weight, especially if you're not being conscious of how much you're putting in.
And with that, these artificial sweeteners can also put you at a higher risk for developing type 2 diabetes, and that goes into play with the insulin that Michaela was just talking about.
And then they can also contribute to overeating. So again, the concept of how it's tricking your body into thinking that it's sugar, it can still make you crave it, which means that you're gonna be craving sweeter things. And if you don't have something that's healthier, that's also sweet in your home, then you might be reaching for something that does have normal sugar in it, because it starts that cycle of like, hey, I ate something sweet even though it was artificially sweetened, and now I want another sweet thing, and so I'm gonna go for the cookies because that's what I have at home.
And they also can interfere with your body's ability to control blood glucose. So when it does that, it can also lead to a glucose intolerance. So your body's no longer going to be able to break down glucose that's found in other foods.
And it also changes the bacteria in your gut. So the doctor that we work with here often says about growing your garden, which is your digestive tract garden. And we have good bacteria in our guts that help us to process food and to eliminate the bad things. A lot of people talk about going on cleanses. Well, your body naturally is cleansing itself with everything you eat, because there are little healthy things that live down there in your gut, and make sure that it's good. So feeding it well and avoiding these artificial sweeteners is going to be the best way to ensure that it stays healthy.
And another way that it interferes with your overall health is that the artificial sweeteners can increase inflammation. So what it does is it increases the inflammation from the inside out. So having it can cause, if you have an artificial sweetener, it may be the cause of your joint pain or other inflammation that you may be noticing.
So then another thing that can happen, Leanne kind of mentioned this earlier and touched on it, that it can affect your artificial sweeteners can affect the way that your body processes real sugar. And so because of that effect, it can then lead to a higher post-meal blood sugar, so a higher post-meal blood glucose. And when the glucose is up, the body thinks, okay, I need to release more insulin so that I can bring that glucose down. And then it kind of forms that cycle that I talked about earlier, in how insulin is a weight gainer. So if your body's being told, hey, glucose is high, insulin needs to get higher, then you're just going to be feeding those cells, those fat cells, and gaining more weight.
And like she's saying, whenever you have these artificial sweeteners, they can cause an overload in your body when you go to eat real sugar or sugar in its whole form. So you're not going to be able to process that sugar and you're going to probably feel sick.
And another thing that can occur is that if you're someone that drinks diet soda, you might already notice this, but you will have a craving for it. So even though you're drinking the diet form because you're thinking that it's healthier, you're not having the regular one, you're drinking your Diet Coke, not your regular Coke, it can still be an addictive substance because of that sweetness. I can speak from experience. When I was a kid, I loved soda, and I still do really like soda, but I know that if I drink it, I crave more of it, and I know that it's not good for me, so I just avoid it altogether, and I just drink water because I know that that's going to be the healthiest thing for my body. It's 0 calories. Your body is made up of so much water that it definitely wants more. So just kicking the habit, because the less that you have of it, the less often you have it, the less your body's going to want it.
So the best thing to do if you are trying to avoid artificial sweeteners in your everyday eating is to read the food labels or really pay close attention to the packaging. Marketing people and advertisements like to play a real big role in this, where you'll see no added sugar or no preservatives or things like that. But the most important to do is to read that food label and the ingredients label and actually see what's in it. Try to avoid high fructose corn syrup. That's fructose, and that's one of the worst things that can play a factor in the things that we just went over. So really be mindful of high fructose corn syrup. Try to avoid that. That's found in a lot of sodas and different things. There's also aspartame, Splenda, and a couple others that I would just stay away from.
If you are looking to do an artificial sweetener, you should try stevia or agave nectar. These are plant-based and cactus-based sweeteners. They have similar profiles in terms of calories to sugar, so they are still something you want to keep in moderation. Anything that you're going to be adding something to sweeten to, you always want to keep in moderation. Naturally sweetened things that just come in that way, those are okay. But anything that you're adding something to make it sweeter, you always want to be cautious of.
And if you wanted to avoid the artificial and just stick with something in its raw, real form, coconut nectar or raw honey is a better alternative than regular sugar. So you could incorporate that more. But just like Michaela just said, be mindful of the portions and how much you're actually consuming.
And then if you're trying to think of how you can switch some things up to make them healthier, one thing that you can do, so instead of doing a sugar-free gelatin or a diet soda or a Kool-Aid or a sugar-free ice cream, try to do a bowl of fresh strawberries as a substitute to that gelatin. Try to do blended fruits with added all-natural apple juice or orange juice for the drink instead of doing a Kool-Aid. Or try and do some fruits covered in some dark chocolate. We have that video on dark chocolate, so definitely look at that. And try and do that and freeze them and have that as your evening, sweet snack versus having a sugar-free ice cream. Those are just some alternatives, and definitely give them a try and let us know what you think.
And like we've said before, if you guys have any ideas or information you wanted us to go over in a video, please let us know and we'll be sure to add it into a video down the road.
We're so happy that you guys tuned in again this week. We hope that you're getting a lot of informative pieces from us. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. That way you can get notifications for when we post our videos every Wednesday.
Have a good week, everybody.
We'll see you next week.